Welcome to the May technique of the month. This month we'll be focusing on the Hugel chasse. Whether we're throwing a blocking technique or an offensive technique such as a punch, the stance is going to be the same, and the stance Hugel chasse will be our primary focus this month. So let's start with how we make a proper Hugel chasse. A common question: how far apart should my legs be? You'll notice I have a small white piece of tape on the ground here. That is so I can mark where the location of my right big toe is. So in this case I'll be turning sideways, but from here, to find approximately the right distance, I'll leave my toe in position, move my other heel so it's touching my knee. From here now, I'll pivot back up, leaving my big toe still on that tape spot, and I just slid my foot over. That's the approximate distance for proper Hugel chasse, is from the distance from your toe over to your knee. And this is a Hugel chasse stance. Progressing with a Hugel chasse with a defensive technique, such as a Hugel Hadan Maki. What we're going to be doing, we'll break this down as a 3 count as a training tool. Count number 1 is going to be shifting my weight in, getting a proper cross, elbows connected. Notice that my knees are also touching. From here then, I'll be allowing my leg to sneak out in front. That's my second count. And count 3 or set is when I snap the hip, pulling that down in front. So again, count number 1, crossing the arms, bringing my knees together. Number 2, I'm allowing my leg to sneak out in front. Number 3, snapping that hip in front to complete the block. For a side view of the Hugel Hadan Maki. So I'll follow the same process I did while I was facing the camera. So count number 1, getting that arm crossed, bringing my knees touching together. Number 2, I'm allowing my leg to sneak in front without shifting my weight. And count 3, as I snap the hip, I keep the weight on my back leg. And notice in this position you can see the line which is safe for the knee. That it's directly down from my hip to the knee, all the way down in line with my toes at the floor. So again, that's 1, cross the arms, bring the knee together. 2, allow the leg to sneak in front. And 3, snap that hip, allowing your hip to be in line with your knee, to be in line with your toes on the ground. Progressing with an offensive technique, Hugel Chongdan Kongkyep. For this one, we'll also be breaking it into 3 counts. Count number 1 is extending that front hand, opening up the hip towards my rear leg side. Number 2, I'm going to allow that leg to move in, making sure all my weight shifts to the front leg. And number 3, this is where I'll be firing that hip in front and pivoting with the back foot. So again, count number 1, opening the hip. 2, allowing that leg to come in. And 3, firing that hip in front at the same time, pulling that rear leg and pivoting it back. Now the side view for a Hugel Chongdan Kongkyep. So just like we did facing the front, we'll be doing 3 counts. Count number 1 is going to be that extending the front arm, really opening that hip, holding the punching side hip back. Number 2, shifting my weight even farther forward while holding that hip. See that it's still as far back as it can be. And count number 3, this is where we'll be pushing that hip forward, pivoting on the rear leg, keeping a nice line, hip, knee, all the way down to your toes. So again, count number 1, opening up the hip. Number 2, bringing that leg in, keeping the hip back. And count number 3, firing the hip, maintaining a line from your hip down to your knee, down to your toes. And that's Hugel chasse.